And we're live, I think. My Facebook screen has froze. I'm looking over here on my monitor at the Facebook, and the Facebook stream has kind of froze. So can anybody out there tell me if I'm live? I'm going to put, am I live here? Question mark. Because my Facebook screen, you know, the monitor that shows me what's going on Facebook has frozen. People are checking in. Hey, good. Stan says we're live. Good. I have no idea why my Facebook screen has froze. That is weird. That's really spooky. Awesome. I'm glad that we are live. This is the RockSim live training. My name is Tim Van Milligan. I have this cool overlay swipe that comes out. Do you see that? That was made by Derek, our graphic artist. I'm going to have to tell him to make it a little, to stay out longer so that my name is appearing there longer. Today on this episode, we have a holdover question from last week from Dignant. Dignant is from India. He wants to know how to design a glider. So that's our topic for today. It's a big topic, and I don't know how long it's going to take. But before I do that, I want to say that later on in our show, we're going to give away another poster. This poster is of the Starfighter 152. This is a lock kit. Normally we don't make posters for other companies' rockets, but the story behind this poster is it's a one-of-a-kind poster that you can win here today. Just imagine this on your workshop wall, and every time somebody comes in, you can tell them the story about this and how it's a once-in-a-lifetime, you know, single print. We only plan on making one print. And this is going to be the cover of our next newsletter that comes out on Tuesday. And it's of the Lock Starfighter 152. Let me put that down here. So here's the kit. It's the Lock Starfighter 152. 152 means it's 1.52 inches in diameter. It's a 29 millimeter mount. It's a beefy rocket, man. This one's heavy. We've only flown it one time, and it flies pretty good. But on our newsletter, we want to highlight some of the products that we sell. So this time it's going to be the Starfighter 152. So if you are here, and if you already haven't said hello, please do so that I know who's here. So far, we got Brandon Neff, we've got Don Thomas, Stan Hughie, Brian Barbalas, John Sislick, Stu McNabb, Chris Britt, Roland Zacher, and Al Anzik. So those are our people that are live. If you're watching this later on YouTube, well, welcome. We do wish you were here live, and like I said, we got this poster that we're trying to give away to try to entice people to come live to this event. So this is about RockSim training. So let me switch to my desktop screen here. So RockSim is the software we're going to be using. If you are watching this and you've never used RockSim before, if you come to the Apogee website, so our web address is apogeerockets.com. We've got this scrolling carousel banner up here in the top. Just click until you get to the RockSim one, and then you can click on that. And that will take you to this page where you can download a free trial version. So if you've never tried it before, go ahead and get that trial version. We are using RockSim version 10.2, which is the latest version. And so if you have version 9 or version 10.0 or 10.1, you get a free upgrade to 10.2. And we want all users to use the latest and the greatest. So That one doesn't cost you. If you have an older version like version 8, then it's a low-cost upgrade. So we have Bob Urich here also, and Wally Farrer. I don't know. Howdy, Wally. It's good to have you. You're new here to this one, so that's great to see that we got new people. So today we're going to be designing a glider, and this on our screen is the glider. If I go back here, this is the Mini Condor boost glider. So if you go into, it wants to pop off. This is the pop pod, and this is the glider portion. It's called the Mini Condor. If you go to the Apogee website, this one is in the database, but if you go to the Apogee website and you type in Mini Condor, it pops up right here. So that's what the Mini Condor looks like. It looks like that. Flies great. What's unique about it is it's got a nice little, you didn't see that on my screen. Okay, so let me do that again. So if you go to the search bar right here, you type in Mini Condor. If you just even start typing it, it will auto-populate, bring up the products. I'm already on that page. So this is the screen. This is what it looks like when you launch it. This is what it looked like when I was doing some test flights. And then if you go here to the button that says RockSim file, it'll take you down to the bottom of the page where you can download this file. So if you're following along, and if you want to do that, that's what it looks like. So here on my screen, we have the Mini Condor. So the question we got last week is, how do you design a glider? Well, I'm not going to do the Mini Condor because we've already got that one in the database, but we do have another glider that's very similar to that. And this one is the Alida R boost glider. And this is from, let me type this one in on our website. So AL, Ida. There it is, Alida R. I'm not sure what the R stands for, but that's this one here. But we do not have a RockSim file for that one. So if you click that RockSim button, it says there's no RockSim file currently available. So we're going to make it right now. So the first step in designing a rocket, so I'm going to go up here to the new, clear that out, and I don't want to save changes, so I'm going to click no. So we're going to start with the tip of the rocket, and this one has a, I don't know, you can't see it because it's very small, but it's a, let me quit my mail program because it's popping up here. It's a BT5 tube with a small nose cone on the tip. So we're going to go to Rocket Designs. We're going to start with the nose cone. And I'm looking for something that's BT5 or 13 millimeter. It's the same thing. So I could either choose an Apogee nose cone. I'm going to choose the Vacuform 13, even though this one is balsa. The reason I chose this one is I know it's got a very similar shape. So if I was measuring it, and I've got a ruler here and a caliper, so using my caliper, I'm going to kind of eyeball it. The length of this is about 0.75 inches long, and that's this length here. So I've opened a nose cone, and now I'm going to modify it and then resave it. I don't really have to resave it, but I'm going to. The reason I chose it was because the diameter is already picked, because I know it's a BT5 tube. So now I just need the shoulder length, and that shoulder is about, I'm eyeballing it about 3/8 of an inch. So about 0.375. So I'm just typing that in on my keyboard, 0.375. And I'm going to hit the tab. Oh, that's the wrong number there. And there's no undoing here. Shoot. So I need to know what the diameter of a BT5 is. So to find that, what I do is I go to our website, and then I go to Building Supplies, Body Tubes, and I want to go to a 13 millimeter tube, go to a BT5, and here on the website, so we got the outer diameter, 0.544 inches. So that's the fast way I always do it, and I know those measurements are accurate. I thought I was doing the shoulder. The shoulder is right here. So my length, this is the one that I wanted to change before, so I'm going to make this 0.375. And then hit tab, and then the shoulder changes. Go back to the general tab. I'm going to make the material balsa wood, and instead of being hollow, I'm going to make it solid. And I want to make sure that the mass override is off. Okay, so here's our nose cone. I'm going to change the color. I got mine here is a nice bright orange, so my 3D color is going to be an orange. And my 2D color, I'll also make that orange. Why not? Okay, so we have the nose cone. And so we're back to the main screen. I'll just show it here in 3D real quick. So there's my nose cone. If your nose is not centered, click here on the camera controller and then just say recenter the camera, and it puts it right back in the middle. By doing that, when you rotate it around, the nose cone stays where it should. Okay, so now we're going to add the next part, which is the body tube. So it's going to be attached to the nose cone. And we're going to choose from the database a 13 millimeter tube. Click OK. Let's make this bigger so you can see it. Okay, so now we need to call this, I'm going to call this the pod tube so that I can tell it apart. And really all I need is a length, because it's already got the inside and outside diameter. So I'm just going to measure the length here with my ruler, and it's 6 inches long. So I'm just going to type in 6.0 and hit tab. And is this a motor mount? And yes, it is. It is a motor mount. And it is a 13 millimeter engine. I'm going to choose the color. I'm going to choose yellow. And my 2D color, I'm not going to choose yellow because it's really hard to see yellow on the screen. So what I'll do, I don't want to do another orange. I'll do this nice green color. Ooh, it's too light. See, it's like barely visible. And I know it's a little harder for you to see, so I'm just going to take here and just make it a darker green. All right, now you can see it. And click OK, and now we've got our body tube. All right. All right, now let me go to 2D view. Now the next component on here is this standoff piece, and this is a really crazy one here. For that, this is going to be a custom fin shape. So we are going to add a fin, and it's going to be a custom fin. And RockSim always looks in the database first, which is now hidden behind here. So I'm going to cancel out of the database. I just want to make my screen bigger. And it throws up a generic shape. We're only going to need one fin, not 3 of them. So I'm going to change that to 1. And it got rid of 2. This is balsa wood, so I'm going to change it to balsa. Thickness, that's kind of, I'll call it of 1/8 of an inch. 0.125 inches. Okay, so we're going to make it from the base of the owning part, so that if I ever make this tube longer or shorter, this fin will follow. It'll always be attached to the bottom, which is right here. It's going to be attached there. Now I'm going to set, see, I've got it on the bottom. So I'm going to change the radial position here to 180 degrees. I'm just going to switch it all the way down to the bottom. So if I want to get it exactly, I'll go here and type in the number 180 and hit tab. So now I know it's exactly on the bottom. Now I got to go to the plan points to enter this weird shape. So what I recommend is I got here in front of me a piece of graph paper. Okay, so you can see, to you it might look white, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to trace that fin on my graph paper so that I can get the coordinates. So this is going to be a little harder for you because you can't see it because it's behind my computer, which is on my desk. But I'm going to, I had a pen that fell off. Let me do this real quick. So I take the tube and I lay it right up against the edge of the table where the graph paper is also on the edge of the table. And I want to have one of the points at an intersection on the graph paper. So I'm doing this real quick here. Okay, so you can't see it. Let me come around to the front and make it a little bit bigger for you. Okay, so the reason I do it on graph paper is so that I can just, it's easier to measure points. So this is my 0, 0 point, and I'm going to try to do this freehand. So now let me go back to my RockSim screen. So this point here, oops, grabbed the wrong one. That point there is at 1.8 inches. So I could just grab it and drag it to 1.8 inches. I can also do it here. I can type it in if I want to be exact. So I typed in 1.8 and hit tab, and it jumps to 1.8. So now if my screen here, if I want to make this screen larger, here if I go between the two panels, this panel and this panel, if I go right in the middle, you'll see the cursor change. And then I can click and drag, and that will make this screen larger. So what I'm trying to do is maximize both this screen down here and this panel right here. So if I bring my cursor up and down between this panel here and this panel here, like right below the calculated fin mass, you'll see again the cursor change, and then I can click and drag, and it'll make this panel bigger so that I can move things around. So now it's a matter of, like, I'm looking at my graph paper here. I'm going to be measuring off of there. This is like one of the hardest pieces on this particular rocket, which is why I don't have a RockSim file for it yet, because doing that piece, that's a chore. Alright, so now you see that I can't go further here. This is because my screen is not big enough. So go over here to the magnifying glass and then just zoom out, and that will allow me to make, you know, give me more room over here on the edge. Alright, so I'm going to try to eyeball this. Okay, grab the wrong one. Okay, my maximum height on the round portion is 0.8 inches. So the maximum up here is going to be 0.8. So I'm just going to drag it down. Come on. It wants to snap. Is there an option for snapping? Cancel. Yeah, here's the grid. Let me turn that off. Come on, undo. Well, this one is, just try typing it in. Yeah, that worked. So then if I want a nice curve, oops, that one didn't curve very well. Yeah, I'm trying to eyeball this, and I'm trying to do it fast. I can add more points. So now my furthest point back over here is 4.6 inches. So I'm going to take this, put one out here. It wants to keep snapping to those points there. Alright. Just put a point there. Undo last. I had the delete button. Undo last. Give me my point back. This is why I don't like doing gliders, because they're a chore. I'm eyeballing my shape to see if I'm looking correct here. So now my other pod is going to be attached down here. So I need to make, I do need a point there. Make this, I'm going to try to make it flat because this my pod's going to attach there. All right, so I can come back and adjust this later. I just want to move ahead here. So I'm going to go to my colors, make it yellow in 3D and in 2D. I'll just make that color. All right, so I can make this bigger again. All right, so now I got my pop pod. Now it's time to start the booster. Again, this is going to be another hard one. So what I'm going to do is I need to attach a pod to this fin, because anything attached externally to the rocket is a pod. I'm just checking my things over here. We also have John Sickler coming in, and Steve Arthur, and Joe Noble. Welcome, guys. I'm glad you could make it. Okay, so back to my screen. So we're going to attach the pod to that, and we're going to call this the glider. And in parentheses, I'll put a pod. Okay, so a pod is a collection of parts. So this is not really the glider, but it's a collection of parts, and we're going to call it the glider. And then it's going to say, where do we want it attached? And right here on our pod screen, this symbol right here is the current attachment point. And it attaches it as far as away from the tube as the farthest part on the pod. So that's like somewhere down in here. And then it's attached to the front of the owning part. So the front of the owning part is right there. So that's why it puts it right here. So we're going to move it here. I'm just going to drag the slider until we get it to where we want it to go. And if you can't go any further with the slider, then you have to type in a number. So if I look at my pod, it's going to be attached. Switch to the main screen here again. A little closer. So it's kind of like almost in the middle of the fin is the front of the nose. So we're pretty close. So So I'm going to type in 2.5 inches and then see where it goes. It's closer. Let's try 2.7 inches. Let's go 8. I'm eyeballing right now, so it's going to be attached right there. This pod can be ejected during simulations, so let's do that because the pod can fall off. I'll click OK. So now we have the pod, and now we're going to attach the boom is a flat piece of balsa wood. So anything that's flat is probably going to be a fin. So we're going to say this is a fin. So we're going to attach a fin, and it's also going to be a custom shape. So I'm going to go to the fin again. I'm going to cancel out of the database. Make sure you can see it here on the screen. Okay, so it's made out of balsa, and the thickness is the same thickness as the that standoff, so it's 1/8 of an inch. We only need one of them. So now we're going to look at the plan points. Ooh, it doesn't like that because it's trying to put a really tiny fin on there. Whew. I didn't put any points on there. And it's not giving me an option to create a point. Maybe this is not going to allow me to do a custom fin. Let's cancel that then. Well, it's going to be a rectangle then. We'll call it a regular fin. Cancel out of that. And let's give it a chord of, that's pretty long. Let me take my ruler here and measure it. We're at 10 inches. Tip chord, I don't know what that is. I'm just going to throw in 4 inches for now. Semi-span, let's call it 0.65. Okay, so now it's starting to show me something here. All right, that's much better. Change the thickness to 1.25, and it is balsa. So let's change the fin count to 1. Okay, so now we're going to have to change the radial position to move it down to the bottom again. All right, that's kind of looking better. Okay, let me eyeball it. So it's big in the front and gets smaller in the back. Okay, so let me go back to the General tab. Okay. Okay, so now my semi-span, that's about right. Let's change the color to orange. I'm going to have to come back and tweak this glider later. That's because I'm about halfway through this presentation already, and we're only getting the boom on. Okay, so I got the boom for the glider. And click OK. Now onto the boom. Let's start attaching the wings to this. So to attach another wing, then we got these big wings. Again, our only component is a pod, so we're going to attach a pod, and we'll call it the wing attachment point. And this one can not be ejected. So right now it's right here. Let's move the location. Whoa, it went too far. So now I'm measuring it from the tip, and I measure about 2 inches. So I'm going to just type in 2 inches there and hit tab. So this is where the front of the wing is going to attach. And we'll click OK. Now we're going to attach a fin. So this can be a custom fin. And the process of doing this custom fin would be the same as what we did before, where we got the graph paper and we traced around it so we can get all of our points. That's the most accurate way to do that. I did a newsletter on how to do that. Let me see if I can find it for you really quick. Picoflight newsletter, all newsletters. So what I did was I went to How To and Guides, and then I went to the Picoflight newsletter, and then I went to all newsletters right here and clicked on that. And that brings up all the newsletters. And then what you do is on your keyboard, we want to do a find, specifically finding on this specific page. And to do that on the Mac, it's Command F, and it brings up a finder box at the top of my browser window. On Windows, it would be Control F. And I want to do custom. And if I spell it right, there's 7 matches. The first one is custom tubes, not that one. Entering custom fins into RockSim, that one, that's the one I want. So that's newsletter 488. So if I click on that, you'll see the graph paper. You see, you know, tracing a pen line around it, keeping the point here at the front. And so then it goes through it. And here is I actually measure, I write down the points, their X and Y coordinates so that I have them. The 0, 0 is always the front, and the top point is always the last. So what it does is it goes around this way. All right. And then at that point, it's entering them into RockSim. These are really small here, hard to see. But so let's go back to RockSim. We're going to do the plan points. Man, again, it did it to me. I should be able to enter a point here. I'm able to try clicking closer. I got to figure that out. So it's not going to allow me to enter a custom fin. So I'm going to just do a trapezoid fin. So cancel out of that. So my root chord, measuring the root chord, we're at 2.9 inches. The tip chord, I'm going to call it, let's call it 1.9. And the semi-span, which is how long it is, I'm going to call it 4 1/4. Okay, so it added it, so now you can kind of see it right here. Zoom in. And then we need to change the sweep angle. So my back edge is vertical, so I'm trying to move that back edge. So what I do is I use the slider bar, and then once I get it close, then I use the arrow buttons on my keypad. As long as this button here is highlighted, and I can use the buttons, and you can see I can tweak it with a lot more accuracy. So now I got it vertical. But now this wing, I only need one of them, but it's going up instead of laying flat. So let me go to a back view of the rocket. You can see this pink one is my wing, and I need to bring it down. So to do that, you go to the radial position, and then grab the slider and just start sliding it down. And these wings are at a dihedral, and I'm pretty sure they're 15 degrees, so that would be 75 degrees from vertical, right there. So now if I go back to the 2D view, let me go to a side or a top view, zoom original. So now there's my wing, and that's one of them. Now I got to duplicate this on the other side. So let me look at this in 3D real quick. So there's the wing. Okay, and if I like it, I'll click OK. Now I need to do another wing on the other side, so I'm just going to do a copy and paste. I'm going to paste it to this attachment point here. So first I highlight it, then with my mouse I can right click, and it brings up this menu here, and I can do copy. You can also get to that from the edit menu, do a copy of there. Now I need to attach it to this pod attachment point. So I highlight that, and then I can do a paste from edit, or doing that right click again. So you can see there's two fins here, and I can't tell them apart, but this is the new one. And it didn't look, it should have put it identical to the last one as far as its attachment point. That's weird. Let's cancel out of there. Let me delete that. Try it one more time. Let me try doing the right paste. Yeah, still did it the same spot. Why would it put it different? Okay. Because the attachment point has to be the same attachment point as the pod. Delete that one, yes. Let's try editing it manually. Cancel. What did I say these were before? I should have done a root cord length 2.9, tip cord 1.4, semi-span, what did I say that was? 4.2. I'm gonna have to check these dimensions. Huh. It shouldn't be putting it back there. Because the attachment point on that is, we're attaching it to this attachment point, not to an attachment point on that one. Save your changes? No. Let's do a copy here. Copy this and paste it to here. Did it paste it? Paste. Oh, it didn't want to copy it. Copy. Paste. This is frustrating because this should be working. I'm trying all my tricks here, because I should be able to copy components. Copy that pod, paste it there. There it is. but it pasted it in the wrong spot. Oh, that was that was stupid. I grabbed the whole glider, just not the wing. I want to attach this one, copy that one, paste it there, and it won't allow me to paste it. Glider attachment point. Wing attachment point. So this fin right here, it's not really a fin, this is the fuselage. Okay, so that's the fuselage. And to that we have this wing attachment point. Let's try adding another one though. So this is why copy and paste works so much better. We're going to call this the Starboard Wing attachment. And the location, zooming in here, because I don't remember where I put it before. I'm just eyeballing it because I want to go fast. Attach it right there. Attach a fin. Let's see if I can copy that fin. Copy. Paste. Nope. Won't let me paste it. Interesting. So we'll just add it. Root cord 2.9. Tip cord 0.6. I'm just guessing here. Sweep length 4.2. It should be showing me. Oh, here we go. There we go. Now we got one. Semi-span. That's the 4.2. Okay, so I need this gray fin right here to match this one, so or you know, the red orange one or the magenta one. Okay, so my semi-span is too wide, so click on that button and then use my arrow keys to bring it in. Yes, if I actually go back to the fin, I could get the exact numbers, and that's what I really should be doing, but I'm just trying to do this a little bit quicker. My tip cord is not long enough. My sweep length. Yeah, that's close. And I'll change it back to one fin. Thickness is 0.125. It is balsa wood. We'll go to the radial position and let's look at the rear view. So there's that fin, and it's really not wide enough. So it's going to be minus 7.5 degrees. So we got to change. That thickness is definitely not the same as the other one. See, that one I don't think is the correct 0.125 inches. That's the thickness of the wing. I might have left it the same. So I'll just make this one the same as that one. Yeah, that looks better. And then semi-span. Okay, so semi-span. That's the 4.2. There we go. Now we got a wing. Let's call this one the starboard wing. No, this is the port side wing, actually. The other one, this one here is not starboard, it's port. port is on the left. So this first one here is the starboard. And the wing attached to it is the starboard wing. Okay, now we have something that looks like a glider. Looks better like a glider. How come? Yeah, my dimensions aren't matching because my wings don't match here. But you get the point. Let me go in 3D, what it looks like in 3D. Zoom out. Okay, so now it's the vertical or the horizontal stabilizer. So again, it's going to be attached to the fuselage boom, and we are going to call it a pod. And this is the horizontal stab attachment point. And this cannot be ejected. Let's go to top view. You can see, let me zoom in. It's currently attached right there. We need to move it to the back. Let's change it to the base of the owning part. And now if we move it to 0, should be right there, but actually I'm going to have to attach it. I'm measuring the length of the horizontal stab, and that is 1.8 inches. So we're going to make the location 1.8 inches from the base right there. Click OK. Now we're going to add a fin to it, and again we're going to make it a custom fin or a regular fin. Okay, so we said the root chord was 1.8 inches. Tip chord, so measuring the tip on here, I'm going to call it 1 inch. Semi-span. Okay, so now the semi-span is not the total span, it's half of it. So we're going to call it 2 inches. Okay, so you can see it right there. We're going to have to change that location. Interesting. So sweep length, the back needs to be flat on the back. So I'm going to go to this button here, and using my arrow keys on the keyboard, I'm just doing it, getting finer control right there. Balsa wood. Okay, so we need to change the location here. Let me change the color. Let's call it yellow. Give it a different color. Okay, so we need to adjust that location, and that's done here on the right here. So I'm going to change it all the way to 0. Let's go in both directions. Okay, so it should be there, and if I look at it from the top view, so we put it right there. And we need to attach it to the top of here, so we need to adjust that. So let's go to radial position, and we're going to uncheck both of these right here because we don't want it, the radial distance, we don't want it to calculate. We're going to adjust it ourselves. So the radial distance, it would be from here to here. So see what I'm doing there? So I made it a 0 and attached it at the right spot. And let's click, let me go to a rear view. Okay, so it actually created 3 fins. So there's 1, there's 2, there's 3. We only need 2 of them, and we need them horizontal. The blue is the pod attachment point. It's just showing it as a big icon here. So here's what it looks like in 3D. All right, so let's go back to the that fin, and we're going to change the name to horizontal stabilizer. And we're going to change it from 3 to a 2. Okay, so they can see it changed it to 2, but it made them vertical. So we need to adjust that, move that horizontal. So I'm just going to grab the slider here and just spin it around to 90 degrees. Okay, and then go back to 3D, see what it looks like. See, now it's starting to look more like a glider. So now we just need to add a vertical stabilizer, and then we are done. Other than all the tweaking that we need to go back and do. Okay, so that is also going to be attached to the fuselage boom as a pod. So I'm going to select the boom, click pod again, and we're going to call this the vertical stabilizer attachment point, and uncheck that. Let's go back to 2D so we can see where it's attached currently. So currently it's right here. We needed to move it all the way to the back, so we'll go all the way to the base of the owning part. Change that to 0, and so it should put it back here. And the radial position, uncheck both of those and make this one 0. So it's going to attach it right there. Click OK. Now we're going to attach the fin to that. Cancel out of the database, and this is going to be the vertical stabilizer. We already know it's going to be one fin. The root cord, we'll call it 2 inches. Tip cord, call it 0.75. Semi-span, I'm going to call it an inch, 1.2 inches. Oops, that was the wrong one. Semi-span, 1.2 inches. Come on. Okay, so there it is. It's on the wrong side again, as we kind of expected. Let's change the sweep angle, because again the back, well, actually the back sweeps kind of forward. Oops, too far. That doesn't look too bad. Radial position, this is going to be 180. Okay, so it attached it right there, as we expected. Zoom original. Okay, so there's our glider. Let's look at it in 3D. It's not too bad. You know, the only thing that I wish I could change was the making those custom fins instead of regular fins. That I have to look at, figure out why that's not working. So, okay, so if I like it, let's change it to the 2D color just to make it something else, something different. Okay, so now we're back to our main screen. Let's save this design. I am going to throw it on my desktop for right now. I'm just going to call this the LIDA R. And just hit save. So now it's saved. I'm looking at my time here. We got 6 minutes left. Joe says your dihedral angles are different. Yeah, I know. I didn't... if I go back and tweak everything, Joe, I could probably make them a lot better. All right, so let's run a simulation. So we're going to load engine, and we already have the engine tube right up here. Is where the engine's going to go. So choose engine. Let's call it an A10-3 as the rocket engine. Flight events. We have no flight events because we have no streamer in there. It's going to be 36 inches tall for a launch rod. Launch conditions, 700-foot altitude, so this is about the middle of the United States, you know, in the Great Plains. Let's make it, I always like doing 8 miles an hour for my wind. Constant speed. And let's do a flight profile. So I expect this to crash. Oh, it's not even showing up. Where'd it go? It crashed. It didn't even lift off. Okay, if it didn't lift off, something is wrong. Man, I'm just struggling today, having all kinds of problems. Usually that means I got a bad part. So then I need to check my parts. So I'm checking material and thickness, making sure it has a mass. Material, thickness, and it has a mass. Thickness, mass. Okay, that all looks good. Balsa has a mass. Okay, this is what part am I looking at? I think it's this piece right here, right? Yeah, so this is the standoff. That has a thick, oops, I didn't want to export template. I want to click OK. This is a motor mount tube. It has a mass. It has a material. Balsa is solid. It has a mass. Why is it not launching? No, it didn't. It's not leaving the pad. I want to show you what this looks like if it launched. So let me save it one more time. I'm going to have to look at this. Let me open up the Apogee Mini Condor, because that's not that one. Mini Condor Boost Glider. No. See, this is very similar. See, I'll look at my design components here. The body tube, the attachment pylon, which is a single fin, and attached to that is the glider pod hook. Then we have the glider boom, which is this. And then we have 4 pods, just like we did before. We had the 2 wing pads, the vertical stabilizer, and the horizontal stabilizer. So that, yeah, that's exactly the way I did it. And everything here is it's not a custom fin. Custom fins would be roundy. Maybe my other one, I used a custom fin. This one is a regular trapezoid fin. So that might be the difference. It might not like that part being, you know, rounded like this on my pod. That's probably where the problem is. So So let's run this one as the simulation. So let's go to prepare for launch, choose engine, A10, 3. Now this rocket does have a streamer in the pod. So there's a streamer down here in the pod. Simulation controls, starting state 36. Ooh, this one, we want to launch it straight up. So let's launch straight up, launch conditions, stay the same, flight profile, let's go see what this looks like. So it's just showing a generic rocket right now. It's right down there. When we launch it, it's going straight, which is what we want to see. And now we're seeing the streamer come down. Okay, so that worked. So I'm at 378 feet up. The problem with RockSim is we can't see the glider fall off, which is unfortunate. So we can only get the vertical trajectory. And so basically all we can check is, does this rocket go straight? We're not going to get, the glide time of the glider. And the glider even falling off, because we can't control the events, because to control events we need a booster stage, and there's no booster stage attached to this. Okay, so that I'm checking my my monitor over here, see if somebody's catching my problems. Wally says parts list will show anything with a 0 mass without clicking each. Yeah, he's right. So if you go to the parts list, under the rocket menu here at the top, you go to parts list, you can see all the masses, but sometimes they're hard to pick out because there's just so much information here. So here's the mass of the nose cone. Here's the mass of the body tube. But then you get things with pods, and these kind of confuse you. And it's showing this material as polycarbonate, and it does have a mass. Oh, that's that custom fin. That's interesting. Why did it choose polycarbonate? Did I not change that pod? Oh, this is a different pod. This is a different glider. It's not the same glider that we just used, so it can be different. And this one's basswood. This glider hook, it's a pod, so it doesn't have a mass. You can see there's no mass for a pod itself. So that's why I didn't look at the parts list, was because it can be confusing. You really need to make sure that everything has a name, so that when you're looking at it, everything's not called fin, because then you don't know what you're really looking at. Wally says launch lug. Yeah, I need to add a launch lug here as well. I don't have one. I could add it here to this body tube. So launch lug, you could add a launch lug here, 1/8 inch launch lug. Let me make this bigger so you can see it. So right now it's attached right at the very tip of the nose cone. And if I slide it back on this one here, I didn't put a launch lug on this glider. Interesting, Tim. No wonder why I haven't flown that one yet. It doesn't have a launch lug on it. So, there's a launch lug. Let's see. Stu McNabb says, yeah, that too. Not sure what he's saying. I believe you could have had one or more parts that showed ejection. Yeah, we do want to design it so that it can be ejected, because when we open this up in RockSim Pro in the future, in RockSim Pro we might be able to have a glider. So let's see, how many people? We still have 16 of you all watching. So it's time to give away the poster. So this is going to be the fourth person that says hello a second time to get the poster. So if you want the Starfighter 152 custom poster, one of a kind, we're looking for the fourth person that says hi, Tim. And while I'm waiting for people to pop up there, I'm just curious. I'm going to save this. I'm going to open it up in RockSim Pro while that's happening. Okay. Okay, this is RockSim Pro. It's not released yet. I'm kind of teasing it again. So I want to open that rocket that we just did. And wait a minute, that's in my applications folder, in my RockSim folder. And designs. Under Apogee. And that was the mini Condor boost glider, which I just saved just now. Bring it up, there it is. Let's see our simulations. Here's that last one that we just ran. Load engines. Okay, I'm looking at the monitor. Joe Noble was #1. Mark Bartkowiak was #2. Brian Barbalis was #3. And Wally Ferrer was #4. So Wally, go to our website later and use the contact form and contact us to get the poster so that we can ship that out to you. It's free, doesn't cost you anything. Stu McNabb says, lots of good information. Joe Batera says, hi, Tim. Wally says, hi, Tim, a second time. He's really trying to get that poster. Stu McNabb says, hi, Tim. And Wally just says, laughing out loud. So we're going to go prepare for launch. Flight events, streamer deploying now. I can't, yeah. Deploy a maximum ejection. We're just going to be able to see this one also popping off into the air. Starting state, 48-inch. Launch conditions. Let's just go flight profile just to see what it looks like. So in RockSim Pro, it will bring up a three-dimensional image of the rocket on the launch pads. And there's our glider sitting on the launch pad. And I'm just rotating it around. Let me zoom out. I think I am in Illinois because I'm on a runway. This is Chanute Rantoul National Aviation. If I look on the map, Rantoul National Aviation Center. This is where there's a club in Illinois flies from here, and I don't think it's an active airport, which is why they fly from this airport. Normally you wouldn't be able to fly from an airport. I don't know where their launch pad is, so I just put it on the end of the runway here. So there's my launch pad, and this is what it looks like in close-up. And if I click the launch button, the rocket's taken off. It's going into the wind. And at this point, it's under parachute, or under streamer. If I pause it right here, boy, it drops like a rock. So there's the glider, and here's the streamer attached to the glider because the glider didn't pop off. But it's a very cool trajectory nonetheless. So the launch point was right here, and it arced way over. The wind, as I can tell from the wind, because this is where it's under streamer, and the streamer is going straight west. So as it took off, it did not like the wind with the glider, and it arced into the wind. Let's see that again. Let me change the view here so that our view doesn't change. So the glider is right down there on the pad. Let me get rid of this view right here. I'll do that by clicking this button, hide that. So the glider is right there. If I click launch, it takes off. Oh, it went too high. And it popped out. I was hoping I could see that the glider fell off. I'd have to redesign this to make the glider fall off. To make it fall off, I need to have additional flight events. So that makes me think, what flight events could I have that could make that fall off? And the only thing that would be a booster stage that would trigger it. So I would have to build a booster into the glider. So I'd have to have a fake motor in here somehow that didn't trigger until this fell off. So now I'm thinking, how would I do that? By tricking RockSim so I could see that glider come off. Because if I could get the glider to fall off, I might be able to see it glide down. One of the things in RockSim Pro is booster stages like that, you know, are designed to tumble. Sometimes they actually glide. And in RockSim Pro, you can see them glide. So I would have to design this as a two-stage rocket. So that would be kind of tricky, but it might be possible. So we went long again. We went 10 minutes overtime. Oh, and you can't see my screen. How come nobody's yelling at me that I can't see my... Oh, here we go. Wally says can't see it. Okay, I'll do it one more time. So this is RockSim Pro. It looks a lot like RockSim. There's the rocket design. Let's do the flight profile. I'm not changing anything. Man, oh man, I feel like I forgot to share my screen. So there's the rocket sitting on the pad. Here's the runway. I'm in Illinois. If I zoom out a little bit further, you can see where we're located. My rocket I put right here at the end of the runway because I don't know where the actual launch pad is for this club. I know they fly here. There was a NARM. My very first NARM that I went to was right here, and to the life of me, I couldn't remember where we launched from either. It might have been like in this tarmac area, because they had some static displays somewhere near some of these hangars, and there was a tank. And the highlight of the event was Chad Ring launched a rocket and it impacted directly on the tank. So I don't know where that tank was at that time. But anyway, so our rocket is right down here. Let me change the zoom. So right here is where the rocket is. And we click launch, and now we can see the trajectory going up. The rocket's going up. And it's instead of going west would be this direction over here. It kind of went southwest as it took off, arced over, and now as the streamer deployed, then it drifted west. And you can see this is my ground track, that red line. So my glider is right there. If I zoom in on this, you can see the gliders hanging from the streamer, which is in the booster pod. So that's what I was looking at when you weren't looking. Sorry about that. Completely forgot. When I switch screens right here, usually I have somebody inside the building watching this as I'm doing it, and they'll tell me, they'll come running into the room. But today is special. We got a brand new employee starting. His name is Brandon. He's training to be our customer service. So in the future, within probably like 2 weeks, he'll start answering the phone. But today is his very first day here. And because of that, the person that usually watches these videos is not here to watch, which is why, you know, nobody came running in saying, "Tim, we can't see your screen." Stu McNabb says, if anybody could do it, Chad could do it. It would be Chad. It was the highlight of the event. It was just funny. I remember watching it. I don't know if it was a plastic model conversion or if it was a scale model, but it went unstable and it hit the tank. Didn't damage the tank at all, as you can tell. All right, so we got to quit. We went way long. So I'm going to end this video. So again, my name is Tim Van Milligan. You're watching the Apogee RockSim Live. We'll be back again next week, same time, same channel, and then we'll post these later onto YouTube so that they are archived. So thank you again for coming. I'm going to hit the end video button here. So in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go out and launch a rocket.